Hey everyone, in this video I will share a present box build showcase intended for the June 10th, 2025 competition which featured the present box meta. This design that I'm sharing here is not created by me. I was given permission by a member of the Dub community to show it to you all in the hopes that it will help you design your own present box build in the future if this meta is to return. The present box is a difficult item to craft since it involves a couple of different items, two of which are what I would say high tier items. Those are the decorated cake and the wine case. Now, in order to save some time, I'm going to assume that you already know how to craft the decorated cake and the wine case, but if you don't, I will leave a link to those build showcases in the description, which breaks down the crafting process for those items. The creator of this design decided not to share their name, but I do appreciate them for giving me permission to share this with you all. Hopefully you all find it helpful. So let's take a look at the production rate here. I've been testing this for about half a day now. This is actually the second time I was testing this. The first time I got disconnected. So it is doing about 4.7 present box per hour. That's close to 5 per hour. And this should actually be doing 5.2 present box per hour is what the creator claimed. And I do believe that when it comes to an item like this, where you can't really make that many of them per hour, it can be very difficult to attain a perfect balance. Now, the present box itself will require 1 wine case, 1 decorated cake, 2 chocolate bars, 2 cheese, and 1 Chardonnay grapes. It is crafted in the boxing facility with a craft time of 3 minutes and 30 seconds or 210 seconds. Now, the chocolate bars you will already be making while in the process of making the decorated cake, but the 2 cheese will require a couple of extra buildings. First of all, a rice field to make husk rice with, then a mixing tent to make white rice, then a sauce facility to make rice vinegar, and then another mixing tent to make cheese, which uses that rice vinegar, as well as to milk. And that other mixing tent is right here. I almost forgot where it was for a second. And the Chardonnay grapes, you'll already be in the process of collecting those for the Chardonnay required for the wine case. In these situations where you don't want to be making too much of an item because the final production rate will be a low number like 5, then you do want to carefully balance some items so you don't end up using too many of another item. Let's start with how the cheese production works in this situation. So we do have the rice field, however, it only has 7 water out of the 8 water it requires to grow. This was done to reduce the amount of husk rice gathered, and since it only has 7 of the 8 water, then we do need to have wells in order for our farmers or our tractors to pick up water and take it to the rice field so then it can grow. Now, in addition to that, we also have a milk barn purposefully casting 1 shade on it to half its craft time so it takes longer to collect the husk rice. Now, because of this, we are getting a husk rice rate of about 53 per hour, and the mixing tent over here still has the 1 passive energy, and after it picks up all the husk rice, it will ultimately make about 13 white rice per hour, and 13 white rice per hour will make it so that you can only ever make the 13 rice vinegar per hour and then only make up to 13 cheese per hour. So we're still overproducing cheese, but this is only enough cheese to make up to 6.5 present box per hour, which this design could be improved upon. I don't think I made any adjustments to what I was shown, but there definitely is room for improvement here, seeing as a couple of spots aren't used and the balancing on this isn't perfect. But only making the cheese required for at most 6.5 present box per hour makes a lot of sense, whereas if you didn't slow this down and you ultimately made like 30 or 40 cheese per hour, you would be wasting way too much milk. The more cheese you overproduce, the more milk you waste, and you can't really afford to waste milk because you also need that milk milk, for butter, and for chocolate. So another thing that is carefully balanced here is the brine for the salt. All of the salt fields are on a red craft timer since no ocean has been provided. And as you can see, there are various salt fields here. There are actually a total of 13 salt fields. And this does seem to produce about 250 brine per hour, which gets turned into about 62 salt per hour. Now each butter requires 2 salt, so this can only ever make about 31 butter per hour. However, I'm at 29 per hour with this test. It does seem like I'm not producing enough sugar, but assuming sugar wasn't the issue, then this would only ever make up to 31 butter per hour, which means it would only make up to about 15.5 batter per hour, and then that would limit the cakes to 5 per hour. So as I explained earlier, with limiting husk rice to ultimately limit the cheese, you can also limit your brine to ultimately limit your butter. Now the only other thing you have to worry about is milk for your chocolate bars. So that is a very good strategy to balance how your milk gets used for the various different crafts required for the present box. Okay, so I did find out what my mistake was. I don't think I have time to run another proper test. I'm surprised this was still doing pretty fine, but it appears that I didn't have this windmill turned on to make sugar, and that is why my sugar rate was at 121, which really it should have been closer to 160. So I wasn't producing enough sugar to make all of the butter required for all of the decorated cakes, and that was probably impacting my chocolate bar rates as well, though it does seem like it is making all the chocolate bars it needs to make close to 5.1 present box per hour. But now that the windmill is turned on and crafting sugar, that should have solved that issue. Now let's look at the windmills here. I am going to share the visualizer for this near the end of the video, so you'll be able to see exactly which windmills are crafting what items. But the creator did use a couple of green timer windmills here. So we have 6 windmills on a green craft timer. 3 of them are crafting sugar, 2 of these are crafting salt, and this one is crafting flour. And it looks like we have 4 crafting salt, 4 crafting flour, and 4 crafting sugar in the center here, all on a red craft timer. I'm surprised to see that only 2 silos are used to make this work, considering there are so many different crops, but as long as the crops aren't overproducing too much, it should not be a problem. Now wood also has to be balanced pretty carefully because we have both wood, oak wood, and lumber going to the lumber yard, but you do want to have wood going to the lumber yard because your tractors do need to pick it up and take it to the vines to craft the 2 different versions of grapes that are required for this. And you do want to have lumber in the lumber yard because you need it for your iron, limestone, chromium, as well as the wooden box. So you don't want to be crafting too much wood to the point where it will constantly jam your lumber yard, but you do want to be crafting enough wood to the point where you're not using it all and always have a little bit going into the lumber yard. Now there are a couple of points that the creator shared with me to explain why it's done in order to balance it correctly. The sand mine and the lumber mill do not have passive energy, so energy has to be manually crafted using one of the power plants that is done with this power plant specifically. So that would slow down the crafting of silica and wooden box. Wooden box is important because you don't want to be crafting too many of them, or else you're wasting valuable lumber which you need for other materials. It doesn't seem like slowing down the silica this way is that important, but it does help use up some of the energy that's manually being crafted, since you will have to auto sell the excess energy, and you won't be making that much excess silica by doing it this way also. So it does help save some gas or some unnecessary trades. Now I already mentioned the rice field needing 1 water, but also the sauce facility that is making the rice vinegar also needs 2 water, which is why we have 3 wells and not just one of them. Now I don't see how this is even important or necessary because we are already limiting white rice here to 13 per hour because of this right here. So there's really no reason to not have this be at 2 passive water. So you could just have a a pond here instead of the well and not have to worry about manually providing water here, because it's never going to make more than the 13 rice vinegar per hour that it's already making. So I'm not sure what the thought process was there, but it doesn't really make a difference in this case. And I believe the last thing they mentioned was that they're overproducing limestone and chromium on purpose, because if they only use one shallow mine for each one, it won't make enough limestone and chromium for all of the glass bottles required to get to 5 present boxes, which is why they had to use 2 shallow mines for each one, even though it overproduces the material, which does require the use of more lumber. So you will have some extra glass bottles, but if you were trying to reach a present box rate of 6 per hour, then this would actually be very good. Now I'll try to explain some of the rotations they did here. The milk barns were rotated to get to some of the meadows faster for better milk production. It looks like the chicken coop was rotated to face away from the road so that they wouldn't go and get as much of the feed from the meadows, so that they wouldn't overproduce too many eggs, which makes sense because then they would take away feed from the milk barns, which would lower the milk production rate. The rotation for the windmills makes sense because, for example, right here you have them all rotated facing this road, which is where the 2 silos are located at. The mixing tent making the cheese was rotated facing away from the road, though this wouldn't make a difference because the rice vinegar rate is already limited by what we explained earlier because of the husk rice and the white rice. And the refinery making petroleum was rotated to face away from the road as well. This would remove the fact that it overproduces petroleum. Not really a big deal. You could just have it face the road and auto sell petroleum. But once again, we're trying not to make a bunch of unnecessary trades, though it really just wouldn't be an issue because you could just have additional trade depots and you'd still have enough gasoline for everything here. And this isn't a rotation thing, but just talking about the wineries here, you do have 2 making Pinot Noir, 1 making Chardonnay, and the 1 making wine case. The reason why there's 2 of them making Pinot Noir is because Pinot Noir has a higher craft time than Chardonnay, and it also has to pick up 6 grapes instead of 3 grapes, so it does take a little bit longer. And might as well mention this too, but of the 3 power plants here, you only want one of them crafting energy. You do not want this one crafting energy, otherwise you'd be making way too much. And this one won't craft any energy because it only has the 1 crude oil. For the auto trade, as you could imagine, you want every single item on here with a trade quantity of 10, including petroleum, wood, and lumber just in case. Here's what the build looks like on the visualizer. Total cost is about 14.5 million. Wages are 22,440 per minute. You can find the file for this visualizer on my Discord server, and an invite link is in the description. And that's basically it for the build showcase. This was an impressive design that was able to make 5 present box per hour if I didn't make the mistake of not turning this on. Surprisingly, it still worked anyways. I thought there was no issues with it because it was doing close to 5 present box per hour, but I can see that if you're not making enough sugar, then you're not going to be able to balance some of the items correctly, since it does need a lot of sugar for a lot of different items like the candy cane, the butter, the chocolate bars. And hey, maybe you made your own design, maybe it was better than this one, maybe not as good, but hopefully this helped to give you some ideas on how to improve it in the future. Leave a like if you enjoyed the build showcase, leave a comment. Thank you to the creator once again who decided not to share their name, but we do appreciate their contribution here. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so already, and if you want to help support the channel, you can find links in the description on how to do so. As always, I appreciate your support and thank you for watching.